pew, pew, pew.
Bo, 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 bo.
All right, that was a lot, don't you think?
Nah,
Not enough. Okay.
not enough.
Welcome back. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
If you guys haven't seen, Mike trimmed his beard. He's looking extraordinarily handsome today.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Mike.
It's a quick trim.
Did you see? I
Quick trim.
trimmed mine also.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, it looks really good. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, first of all,
Let's pop it. Pop it.
yesterday.
I wish I could peck pop. Like I could sit here and be like,
No thanks.
Not like The Rock, like Dwayne.
Yeah, you're not him. So
Do you say Dwayne or Dwayne?
Dwayne.
What up, Capwise?
What was the first option? Dwayne.
Dwayne, like Dwayne or Dwayne?
I say
Dwayne.
I say
Like
Dwayne.
Dwayne. Like,
I
do
say-
you see the difference that I'm talking about though? Dwayne.
How do you pronounce the color that is the word prop at the top of the screen?
Orange.
Orange.
Wait, is James Harden officially activated? Also, Capways, I saw that. PJ Tucker, I don't know, man. Every game, he could either take 6 threes and make 1 or take like 2 and airball them. So, I'm not sure. Offered plus 300 on the Nets. Listen, hot boy summer for Mikey. Let's go, boy. You know it. Listen, here's the thing about the Nets game tonight. I want you to disregard everything that Nicky Pick says because he's going to tell you to take Nets money line regardless. Here's what I'm going to say about the Nets. James Harden is activated, I believe, if those comments are correct. I do not think James Harden is going to be able to play a full load because he's really pushing to get back in this game. And that means that he has a very high risk of re-injuring himself. So watch out for that and just be very wary. Very wary of the Nets tonight. I don't know if I'm going to touch a money line or a spread tonight in this game just because the possibilities kind of scare me because I think this Bucks team is playing like, dude, like we're not going home. So we just tied up the series. We're not going home. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Did they tie up the series? Wait, hold on. Did they tie up the series, right? It's 2-2?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
But speaking of tying up the series, we had that happen twice last night. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, firstly, can I talk shit? Because last time we did this show, it was the Bucks game, and I said the Bucks were going to win, and everyone was on the Nets money line. And I took the Bucks, and they ended up smacking.
Keep living in the
Let's
past.
go to Monday.
Shut up.
Yeah, I'm just saying. That's one of the sharpest things I've ever done. So, whatever. Okay, continuing. Monday recap. Monday was crazy.
God,
Monday was
you're
actually
annoying.
crazy. Monday was
God,
crazy.
you are annoying.
Monday was crazy. Nick, relax.
Wow.
Fucking relax.
You are annoying.
Jazz are pathetic on the road. So, Monday was crazy. The Hawks absolutely stormed back against the Sixers. That was tough to watch if you were a Philly bettor like myself. But I, of course, tweeted in the morning that I thought the Hawks were due, and of course they were due. I saw a couple things, Liv. A lot of people were saying Doc Rivers blew that game. The way he managed that game, putting the starters minutes and stuff like that he blew that game. I just think that I think I agree with that, and I think he was out-coached. I think the Sixers got outplayed and out-coached. And it was a great game, honestly, if you were watching. And I think the Hawks deserved to take that one tied-up series. Now everything changes in that series when you look at it from the outside, right? Like, the Sixers were running away with it. Like, people were like, this Sixers team is not going to lose another game to this Hawks team. Like, they're making the Hawks look like JV. But, people forget this Hawks team is deep. And if they're shooting well, they're really, really dangerous. And I think, the Sixers caught a little sniff of that. And Trae Young didn't even shoot that well. So they're beating the Sixers without Trae Young playing that well. If he starts to play well, he did have 27, but, he shot 3 for 11 from the 3.
Right. Well, in my opinion, okay, you're Doc Rivers. Whose ball do you get? Whose hands do you get the ball in the final stretch of the game to tie it up / win?
It's got to be Joel Embiid, right?
And they did that. Joel
just couldn't hit.
Embiid was the one that missed. So is that really
Couldn't
Doc Rivers' mistake, or
Well,
was that Joel Embiid not following through and not being the player that Doc Rivers has seen him be time and time again?
It becomes Doc Rivers' problem when he takes them out in the third quarter with 7 minutes left and then puts them back in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left. So you're thinking, now they're coming in out of rhythm and the game's getting close. So now you got nerves, you're out of rhythm, and you're just going to get fed the ball. So, I think partly, Joel, you got to step up. Like, this is why you're This is why you complain every time about not being in the MVP conversation. This is why you complain about the Sixers trusting the process. The process is you getting the ball in crunch time. So I think it comes down to one, Doc not putting them in a rhythm, but then two, Joel, make your shots, buddy. This is what you're paid to do. You know, like if I got paid to make basketball shots, I think I could make some basketball shots.
I don't think so, but all I'm going to say is
that was just such a sneak diss.
But all I'm going to say is talking about Joel Embiid really quick. A lot of people out there were saying Jokic didn't deserve MVP and Embiid deserved MVP. Really? That wasn't very.
Well, actually, I have something to get. But no, talk about that. I want to hear your opinion on that.
I mean, who just leaves the show in the middle of who just does that? If he comes in with a prop, so help me God, Nick, pull me out of the show. Pull me out. Pull me out. If he comes back with a prop, pull me out. Anyways, I'm going to continue to talk about this MVP situation. All I'm going to say is Sunday night.
Liv, I got Jokic's thing right here that he got from that Sun series. Do you need this? I think this is what Jokic is going to be doing for the rest of the year. Just, I heard they actually gave this.
No.
Wait, I heard they actually gave this.
Be quiet. Be quiet
to
for 5
every
seconds.
Nuggets player after the Sun.
Be quiet
series.
for 5 seconds. I promise you, I'm giving you a warning. If you continue to run your mouth on that game, so help me God, I will destroy you.
Destroy me. I mean, you got swept. That's tough.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Let me ask you this. Pull your head out of your butt for 5 seconds so I can ask you this question. Okay? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If that were LeBron James, same foul, same exact situation. It was an elimination game. They had home court advantage. If LeBron James made that same foul, would he have been ejected? Answer wisely and answer with honesty.
I'm going to say probably not. But, that foul has no basis on the 3 games prior that you lost.
But nothing.
If you're getting, but here's the thing, though. Because
the Nuggets could have won that game. They were close without Jokic. They could have easily won that game, and it would not have been a sweep. But what's the best way? What is the best possible scenario for that Suns team is to eliminate the best player. Now, granted, he had the foul on his own. He did it. There's no if, ands, or buts about it.
That was a hard foul.
I'm not going to – right. But it's a hard foul that has happened many, many times before. And it's a hard foul that if it were the right guy making that foul, it wouldn't have ended the way that it did.
Listen, you're talking to the guy that thinks the NBA needs a total rehaul because it's just the softest thing ever. But I will say this, Liv. I think looking at it from 2 lenses, would any other player gotten thrown out on their home floor like that? Probably not. But when you look at the rule book as it is now, there was no basis of really going for the ball on that foul. He was just out there to hack. Should he got it thrown out? No. But if you're Jokic, you got to win at least game 3, man. You can't have it come down to game 4 and then get ejected. You got to 1, keep a cool head, and you got to 2, try to steal some games. That's what the playoffs is about, stealing games. And the Hawks stole a game last night, so huge.
All I will say before we wrap this up is Jokic, any Denver Nuggets fan that is tuning in will agree with me when I say this. And if you don't, you're a sissy. Jokic has been playing frustrated as of late. Why? Because there are plenty of situations where he gets fouled on and the whistle doesn't get blown. Plenty. So he plays frustrated. He literally said in his post game, I did not mean to make contact with his head. I'm sorry for that, but I wanted to change the whistle.
I mean,
that's sick and tired of being fouled on time and time again with no calls.
But that's how you get thrown out of the game. That's a frustration foul. That's how you get thrown out of the game. You got to be bigger than that.
Are you speaking from experience or?
Yeah, I mean, in any sports team, the frustration fouls are what get you in trouble. In soccer, when you get fouled, you don't think you get fouled, so then you go foul the guy that has the ball. That's you get a yellow card. The frustration fouls are things that star players just can't do.
Have you ever seen LeBron James get a frustration foul and get thrown out of a game?
He doesn't get frustrated like that. That's why he's LeBron James. He gets fouled. He gets frustration fouled.
His version of frustrated, though, is crying and whining.
Well, he gets frustrated fouled. He gets frustrated fouls. People take the frustration out on him.
last thing I'm going to say right now. You say that the league is soft and you think it needs a revamp. Now you've got a player who just got MVP, who's playing frustrated, who's playing with intensity. He gets thrown out. And you're trying to justify that.
Well, there's intensity, but then frustration fouls are just stupid. You can't do that.
So in your picture-perfect world, there'd be no frustration fouls, but everyone would play with more intensity and more aggression.
Yeah, I mean, you can play with intensity without frustration fouls. Frustration fouls are just the things that get you thrown out of the games, the things that get you technicals, the thing that get you flagrants. The only thing that would have come out of that foul, other than him getting thrown out, was free throws for the Suns, because that was going to be a technical flagrant, whatever it was going to be, the minute he did it.
Right. I'm not denying that the foul was the foul. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying throwing him out of the game on his court in an elimination game was bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that.
That's bullshit, because it wouldn't have happened to anyone else.
But also, he got dominated by Ayton for 3 straight games. If you're the MVP, you can't get dominated by DeAndre Ayton for 3 straight games, man. Come on.
Well, here's all I'm going to say. Whether you like it or not, Jokic is the MVP.
Yeah, I agree.
Get on the bus or it's leaving you at the station. Thank you. Okay. Woo! Olivia's cooled off now. I'm cooled off, you guys.
Let's talk about these Nets injuries.
Well, you know what? The deal is Kyrie Irving, I don't know if we'll see him again.
Yeah, that ankle injury looked rough.
I don't know if we'll see him again because sprains are a biatch. Okay. He would have been better off. Like, honestly, his recovery would have been a little smoother if he, like, fractured that hoe. He sprained it. We all have had an ankle sprain that lasts way too long because there's no treatment for it. I don't think we see Kyrie again in this.
I don't know if KD can carry these Nets either. Sports betting podcast. I don't know.
Here's what I'm going to say. And I will say, I said this a couple episodes ago. I said to you, especially with the Suns team, we need to find this clip because I said it. Young talent, right? You've got young talent all throughout these playoffs. We've got a lot of really, really great young talent. As these playoffs progress, you want to start looking at those veterans. This is their time to shine. Chris Paul is a great example of that. He started off very slow. He did not do much in that Heat series. It wasn't the Heat. It was okay, Olivia. Hi. How are you? Who were they playing before?
Wrong side of America.
Who were the Suns?
The Lakers.
Duh. Sorry. In the Lakers series, we were not seeing him do all that much. Now we're seeing him play the way that we know he knows how to play. These veteran players are the ones that aren't going to let this, playoff pressure, exhaustion, any of that get the best of them because they're built for this kind of stuff. So KD not being able to carry the Nets, do I think he can do it alone? No. I think with the help of James Harden, the Nets are still fine, in my opinion. James Harden, questionable plans to play. Plans to play.
Be careful of a re-injury. Honestly, if I'm the Nets, I'm going to let James Harden sit out, maybe eat this L, but if it allows him to come back full strength the next game, I would much rather live with that and be down 3-2 going into that game than have James push himself to play and then him get re-injured and it be worse. That would be my take on it, but if he wants to play, fucking run. But I think this affects the props, right? And
it does.
When we're looking at the props for tonight's game, sorry everyone, we're 16 minutes in, still haven't gotten to the props. We're going to get to the props right now. This Bucks Nets, the picks for tonight, the injuries are huge in the playoffs. But I think we found some value, and I think when you're looking at the playoffs and you're looking at a possible game that could shift the tide of the series, I think it's still comfortable to look at the star players because you think about resting. Last night, the Sixers rested their starters with a lot of time left in the third and didn't bring them back to the fourth and lost that game. So the Bucks, if the Bucks are looking at this game and go, okay, we got an early lead, they're hammering starter minutes because you need to let this game get away from the Nets to the point where they're like, okay, we'll sit KD and we'll just take this one to the chin. So I think when we're looking at this game, that was the mindset I took at least. So I think the first pick is going to be Chris Middleton over 25.5 or 25 plus points. So that's plus money because his line is at 23.5 right now. I think Chris Middleton showed that if this Bucks team wants to beat this Nets team consistently, he's got to be the centerpiece. Giannis can drive to the lane and score as many as he wants, but you don't open up that lane without Chris Middleton making his jump shots. And I think Chris Middleton has finally realized that, hey, I can take over games. Game 3, he took over Game 3. He said, I don't care about what any of you guys are saying. I'll hit step backs in your face all day. So I think he's got to keep that going. And I think tonight is a perfect night for him to go, okay, the Nets are dwindling right now. Jeff Green's back, whatever. I need to step up and make my shots. I think 25 plus for plus money is something I'm really comfortable with for Middleton tonight. And I know you like this one too.
I had Chris Middleton written down.
Huge.
I like him. Yeah, I mean, I think no Kyrie, Chris Middleton, we've seen him within this series alone play exceptional basketball when he needs to. And I think now that you've got Kyrie out of the picture, I think it's a Chris Middleton game for sure for the Bucks.
Yeah.
Him and Giannis have got to be the main scorers on this team tonight. And the Bucks could easily get it done. That's the thing. If Chris Middleton stays hot and Giannis stays hot, it's going to be tough for the Nets to walk away with a win on this one. But
I think if you're the Bucks, this is a must-win game.
Yeah.
Must-win game. You need a 3-2 lead on this Nets team if you want a chance of eliminating them. Because if you drop this game and the Nets aren't fully healthy and then they start getting guys back, you're dead in the water.
Yep.
So this is a must-win game. All the guys got to play. What else do you like in this game?
I'm on the other side of this one. I like Kevin Durant tonight. With no Kyrie in the regular season, he averaged 34.6 points. So I like him to have a big night. Obviously, it's the playoffs. I would say that the Nets are a exceptionally better basketball team right now than they were in the regular season. We have a healthy KD finally. He's really, really stepping back into that natural KD form that we're used to seeing him in, which is one of the best scorers in the league, in my opinion. With no Kyrie, he obviously does a whole lot better because, you know, I think in most games when we're watching this Brooklyn Nets team, you've got KD and Kyrie kind of sharing the weight of the scoring. But without Kyrie, I think Kevin Durant knows he's got to really step up and do a lot of the scoring tonight. So like I said, without Kyrie, he averages 34.6 points in this postseason series. He's averaged 29.75. I grabbed his line at over 33.5. That is significantly higher than his average in this series, but he has hit this over in the series actually 0 times. So, you know, it is what it is. But again, this is playoffs. This is game 5. This is game 5. They really, really need Kevin Durant tonight. Again, we will have Harden, but will we see full James Harden 100% full minutes? Probably not. So that being said, there was one game in the series that Kevin Durant played with no Kyrie, but with Harden, and he scored 30 points, had 9 rebounds and 6 assists. So even with Harden, he's hitting 30 points. But in the other 2 games without James Harden and without Kyrie, he had 42 points and 32 points. So again, averaging that 34.6. I like this for him. It's a big game tonight for both teams. I think this game is really kind of going to help figure out what this series is going to end like. So I think Kevin Durant knows he's got to pull the weight tonight. I think another prop that people could consider on the Brooklyn Nets side of things is Joe Harris. The Bucks allow the most 3-pointers in the league. We know that Joe Harris is lethal from the 3-point line. So that's another prop to consider. And I think, you know, the Nets know that this is a big one. They know that losing Kyrie is a huge loss for them. But I think Kevin Durant, like I said a few weeks ago, looking at those veteran players right now is your best bet because they don't really let the playoff pressure phase them. I will say the Bucks did defend Kevin Durant very, very well last game. He still managed to find opportunities to score and make those buckets. I think he'll do the same thing tonight.
PJ Tucker, real MVP.
PJ Tucker.
Been locking him up. And I think also to that, be careful with James Harden props because hamstrings are really funny. We saw Bradley Beal take a dip in all of his props when his hamstring was hurt because everyone's had a hamstring injury. It's just annoying. You feel like you can play, you feel full speed. Once you start going full speed, it's annoying, it bothers. You can't really feel like you're yourself. So be careful with James Harden's props. I would maybe stay away from him tonight just because hamstrings are funny. We saw it with Bradley Beal. We're probably going to see with Harden. So just be careful with those. I think the other – yeah, go ahead.
If you're going to take a Harden prop –
smack.
if you're gonna take a Harden prop, I would look at his assists because I think, like you said, Mike, he's probably going to be playing it pretty safe. There's a lot of guys on this Nets team that he knows can score just fine. That's what they've been doing while he's been out. I think he's really going to play tonight in that facilitator mode. He's not going to try to make it about him. He's going to want to take it easy so that he doesn't hurt himself, because I would argue the next game is, even if the Nets pull off a win for this one, the next game is equally, if not more important. So I think he's probably going to take it easy, especially when it comes to getting those boards and buckets. So if I were to look at a Harden prop, I would probably look at his assist tonight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the other one I looked at tonight too is Drew Holiday over points and assists at 25.5. He was hitting this pretty consistently in the regular season. And in the playoffs, it's been sitting around 26.5, which I didn't love. But today it got moved down to 25.5. Listen, Drew Holiday is the reason why this Bucks team is now a championship contending team versus the team they had last year. Drew Holiday does it all. He plays really good defense, and he facilitates that offense really well, and he can score the ball. So 25.5, I love, especially with this new Bucks offense where it's basically like we're just going to lean into Giannis's ability to just run to the hoop. So if Drew Holiday can just facilitate that offense and be the point guard that I know he is, and also he's going to have a rotation of James Harden and Mike James guarding him, which I love for him. So 25.5 points and assists. The assists in this one would be kind of my insurance just to make sure he gets over that 25.5, because his points is at 18.5. I don't know if I love Drew Holiday to drop 19, 20 points, but I love him to get around, 15 points, maybe like an absurd amount of assists. So I love 25.5 for him tonight in this matchup. So I think that would be my other prop as well for this game.
I agree. I love it.
NBA futures.
Let's talk futures because
hammered the Suns.
Yeah, well, all I have to say is just to brag a little bit. I guested on a podcast with a gentleman named Jeff Nadeau earlier this year, and he asked me my prediction for the finals, and I said the Suns and the Nets. I think that is still very possible. Obviously, a Kyrie injury nobody anticipated, but I think this Suns team is
Clippers
next
and Nets.
level. Honestly, ooh. Okay. Listen, Chris Paul is playing exceptional basketball right now. He's doing exactly what he's meant to do. He is embodying that point guard position like his life depends on it. He is really taking the opportunity. What I've noticed with him as well is, to start off the game, you've got these scorers like Devin Booker, this young talent really stepping up and scoring quite a bit. And as the defense gets better on the other side and the pressure starts to cook on Devin Booker, you're seeing Chris Paul late in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter really step up to the plate and get the job done for the Suns. So he's kind of like the secret weapon on this really young, talented team. Mm-hmm. I've loved watching him play. To be honest with you, I think that the Western Conference Finals is going to be the Jazz versus the Suns. I really do. I know that's kind of a hot take, but I like those two teams in the
I don't
Western
think that's a hot take at all. I agree with you. I think this Clippers team, Liv, we've talked about sometimes, they're sorry, man. They're sorry. They're going to fold. Paul George is not clutch. Kawhi's not a leader. This Clippers team might take them to 7, but I don't see them beating this Utah Jazz team, especially not in Utah. So I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think it's going to be Suns Jazz. I agree with you. I think that Western Conference Final is going to be Suns Jazz. And when I look at that matchup, I think that could be one of the best matchups in the past 5 years that we see in a playoff series. I think they match up with each other extremely well on both sides of the ball. I mean, you've got Ayton and you've got Gobert going at each other all night. That would be exhilarating to watch. You've got Donovan Mitchell and Chris Paul going at it, Devin Booker. Like, the role players on Utah are arguably a little better than Phoenix. So how does Phoenix do that? Is Jay Crowder going to keep shooting as well as he's been shooting? He's kind of been that – he's moved that needle for this Suns team in the playoffs because of how well he's been shooting. And, Mikal Bridges has stepped up. But, I took the Suns at plus 1,900, I think, to win the NBA Finals, I think, in the first round. So that's been my NBA futures bet. But I think you're totally on that this finals matchup could be Nets Suns. If the Nets can steal this game tonight, Liv, I think you're looking at that prediction being rock solid because this Sixers team is also sorry. I mean,
yeah, I think our Eastern Conference Finals will be Hawks Nets, and I think our Western Conference will be.
You think the Hawks are going to take it from the Sixers?
I do.
I honestly. So here's what I was thinking about too last night, Liv, and I think that's interesting. You said that because right now I'm looking at it right now. The 2020 Finals champion right now. The odds are I had Bucks win the Super Bowl and parlayed them with Clippers to win. Oh, that's an F. I don't think the Clippers are going to win the finals, buddy. But the Hawks right now are plus 6,500 to win the finals, right? So they're basically saying the Hawks are getting eliminated. Everyone else is plus 390. The Clippers are plus 550. The Sixers are plus 700. Jazz, Suns, and Bucks are plus 390, and the Nets are 300. So the Nets are still the favorite right now, right? The Eastern Conference champ right now, I was looking at this last night, and I almost threw a taste on the Hawks at plus 2,500. I just feel like this Atlanta team, and the fact that you're saying that you think that it's going to be Nets-Hawks, there's a chance that this Hawks team could go on a little run here. If they put everything together, I think they could go on a little run, and I think this Hawks team matches up absurdly well with this Nets team.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. The futures right now, I think it's all up in the air. I think, honestly, it's all up in the air.
Honest to God, I feel like the 76ers are the Eastern Conference version of the Clippers.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. It's because there's no leadership, Liv. So when we look at the teams that are playing the best right now, the best basketball right now that's getting played in the NBA playoffs is the Suns. They have the best leader in the NBA in Chris Paul. That's why he took the Thunder to the playoffs last year, and that's why everyone's starting to play better this year. You don't go up against a Nuggets team and sweep them and keep your head as well as the Suns have kept their head, and it's because in that locker room you have Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. The Clippers are falling apart at every stage of the game. They don't have a single leader. Kawhi's not a leader. Paul George isn't a leader. Reggie Jackson's not a leader. Pat Beverly's not a leader. These are just really good basketball players.
Yep.
The Bucks have a slight leader in Giannis, but PJ Tucker's that leader right now. When they go in that locker room, there's one guy that everyone's looking at, and it's PJ Tucker because he's going at KD every single night and going, I don't give a shit if he drops 25 on me. I'm just going to make it really difficult. No one else wants to do that. That's a leader. The teams that win finals have leaders, and I think you're looking at the Suns, you're looking at the Bucks, you're looking at the Hawks. Trae Young is that leader for the Hawks. That's why the Hawks are doing so well. The Knicks didn't have a leader. I'm so big on leadership.
And I think that's why I'm so huge on the Nets team right now is that I was very pleasantly surprised by James Harden this year. He was such a leader. And honestly, the way that he left Houston, I was very apprehensive to be on board with him this year. I thought the way that he left and kind of the fit that he threw, I wasn't really about it. And then I saw almost a different version of him on this Nets.
100 on the Hawks. Fact.
I think he was finally in a position where he was respected and he had a position on the team that was needed. He wasn't carrying the entire team. He was forced to be a teammate and not just a superstar. And I really saw a different version of James Harden. And we've seen this Nets team go through a plethora of injuries, whether it's Kyrie Irving taking PTO days every other week and leaving James Harden to hold this Nets team up on his own. In terms of leadership, he did that. Then you've got Kyrie and James Harden out, and you're watching KD do what he does best, which is be a leader. There's been some worry about Kyrie Irving and his capability to be a leader, but I think he's been positively influenced in a lot of ways by James Harden, who came into a team that Kyrie has been on and showed, hey, dude, it's not all about you all the time. In order for us to be successful, you've got to take a step back, say screw your personal stats and do what we need to do as a team. And I think this Nets team is just stacked to the brim. And I think you've got these leaders that are okay with taking a step back, sacrificing their personal best or their career highs to allow this Nets team to flourish. And I think that's why they're so dangerous right now. So
yeah, and right before, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying tonight I think is going to be very eye-opening in terms of this Nets team and what they can do and if there's potential to win it all without Kyrie. But I do believe that they've got what it takes. I really do.
Yeah, and I think right before we wrap, I'd love to say, I think when you talk about leadership in the NBA, James Harden has taken the most steps into becoming a leader. And when you're watching that Nets game, that game 4 in the Nets, James Harden's body language was the best in the entire team, and he was on the bench. So that says something about the leader he's become. I have a real problem with Kevin Durant as a leader on a team. That's why he needed to go to Golden State to win. That's why they never did anything in Oklahoma City. He's not a guy that's like gets in the locker room and is like, hey, guys, let's get it going. He's a guy that's like, all right, give me the ball and I'll go to work. And his body language when the Nets went down, when Kyrie went down, if another teammate takes a shot and they miss, it's the clap and the head comes back and whatever. But James Harden on the bench, clapping, let's get it. So I think James Harden is the guy that moves the needle on this team. If they want a chance at winning, it's James Harden, and him being on the floor tonight should scare the Bucks because his energy he brings when Kevin Durant and Kyrie were both out in the regular season, the Nets were still winning games. And it's because when you've got a guy that says, hey, Joe, you're 0 for 6, I want you to take 6 more threes, man. Versus Kevin Durant, who I would assume if Joe's 0 for 6, he goes, hey, look for me in the corner, man. I'm wide open. Like, when you watch when KD plays, it's like, let's try to find KD the ball, and then guys are shooting out of rhythm. When James plays, they're just flowing. That Nets team is dangerous. So I love James being back tonight, but again, I'm not touching anything that has to do with the money lines in that game.
Suns versus Nets in the finals. That's my call.
Suns. I think the Suns take it. I think the Suns are going to be the champions this year.
Well, you hope the Suns take it because you've got money on it. So
no, but I honestly think I would love to see Chris Paul win this year, and I think this is
me too. Team. I would love that. I would.
I think this is the team. But as always, I'll be dropping exclusives. I'm sure Liv will have something for you guys on the Book It Sports app. What is the Book It Sports app? The Book It Sports app is your one-stop shop for all things sports bettors and sports fans alike. We are a social media scrolling feed that is free on the App Store. We are an application, of course. Free on the Google Play and App Store if you've got an Android or an iPhone. You know, Android, a little weird, but we're still available for you. You can do a plethora of things, but let me break down the key for. You can, one, post that feed, your memes, your analysis, your picks, whatever it is you want to post about to get people riled up, you can post about it. You can also follow your friends. You can follow creators like me and Liv, at Mikey over at Liv Moods. You can follow the Book It team. You can also follow your friends, man. Make a community of your own. You can also track your action that you're placing at the sports books, and our application gives you real-time odds and predictions of how your bets are doing, so you don't even have to check ESPN, bro. And if you're going through a struggle or you're going through a hard time or you just need a little bit of help, we've got 15 verified handicappers that sell picks across all major sports every single day to help you and I out every day. So if you don't already have the Book It Sports app, might as well go download it. We'll be dropping exclusives. You can do all that stuff free on the App Store. I mean, what are you doing? This has been Proc Time. Wet.